When you were younger?
Welcome to Chatting Over Coffee with Ben. Today, our guest is me.
You become like host and guest. You should start your own like podcast.
Yeah, so I heard I need somebody to bounce off because if I'm not a guy that I can't sit in front of a camera like one of those talking heads on YouTube that are ranting against the orange guy in the South or Europe or the Middle East or whatever. That's just not me.
But have you? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
But have you thought about like starting a podcast or like this chat over coffee? But instead of just because you say you're very self-aware that like certain like strengths and weakness, right? Have you thought about like getting a group of people and you become the co-producer or director, and well at the same time you are the host, right? So in some programs where they have 2 to 3 different persons coming together as hosts of teams, of team or host, interview people.
Well, yeah, I know you. So yeah, sure, I can help. I can help you out. Like me, I don't see myself like just doing it by myself. I don't know. I'm more of a facilitator.
Okay.
I'm more of a facilitator than than the leader. If I get the opportunity to work with a team,
Yeah.
it's where I'm happiest.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, like the reason, like you said, hey, would you like to start a podcast?
Yeah.
And that'd be cool, but I need somebody I can bounce ideas off.
Oh, okay.
Whether, it's another person that, has radically opposing ideas, which makes for interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Or people who are just, innately curious and want to learn about, about each other, about the world, talk to guests, whatever. Okay. But by myself, no. It's not me. And when you told me, hey, let's do this, and I said, well, that'd be a nice experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've done bits on radio. I've done not here, obviously, but back home, because my work. I did, I'd have to do promos. I'd have to do bits on, things related to marketing pushes or advertising or brand awareness or whatever, be it radio or just interviews in general, whatever. Never bothered me. And also because when we had to produce commercials, as and I was a brand manager, so I had to be on top of what was being done. I could give the advertising company and their production team, I could give them guidelines, but I like to be on set to kind of give notes because I had a mandate from my higher ups.
Yes.
So if the tone was going too much in one direction or on the other, I'm not experienced enough to say, hey, do it this way. But I'd say, hey, listen, you know what? This, you've got it, but this is more the tone we're looking for, and this is coming out like that. And the thing is, sorry.
No,
I remember we'd be on set, and I'd say, all right, that's great, but you know what? We need to fit it within. We need to fit that commercial within 60 seconds or 30 seconds or 40 seconds. So maybe talk a little faster. He says, well, can we take something out? And I'd sign off right on the spot. I'd sign off. This can be taken out, and that could save us, 2 seconds here, 3 seconds there, and it gave them the flexibility. Okay, and it made my job easier because it didn't mean that they'd go through the thing, send me the copy, I'd look at it and say, yeah, great, and send notes back. If you're there, it just got done in one go. Like I remember once we were doing a radio spot, and the whole thing, I think we did it within an hour. It was a 60-second spot, And within an hour, like they already had the script. I sat down with the talent, with the people doing the voices and all that, very talented people. And they asked me a series of questions. I said, look, this is what I'm going for, this is what I'm looking for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I told the director, like, this is where I would like it to go. Like the script, this is what's approved, and we have to keep it within these parameters. And they did a first try, a rehearsal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Ran it. I think we had to do it 4 times with revisions to sound, to et cetera, et cetera.
And that's all done in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's fast.
That was record quick.
Wow.
Like, the advertising agency said, hey, listen, usually this takes
days.
To do a 60-second spot, it takes forever.
Yeah.
And I was, keep it simple, stupid. Like, let's just, this worked. And it did. It worked. But anywho. So how do you want to...
Was it like in Venezuela? Or
yeah, this was in Venezuela.
Because you mentioned you're more like a facilitator, right? So I remember years ago, maybe last year, 2 years ago, you told me before. I think that's why I want to ask you about your thoughts on when the orange guy, Trump, sent people to Venezuela. I guess basically kidnapped Maduro.
Yeah.
And flew him back to US. Like,
what's your question?
My question is like, why and what's your thought on that? Like, is it good, bad?
Like the why has a lot of layers there. And it depends who you ask. Okay, it's because it depends on the political position of who you ask, and it depends on the position of the person. If you're asking somebody in Venezuela, somebody who's Venezuelan outside Venezuela, and if you're asking somebody in the United States that can actually find Venezuela on a map. So it's like it will depend. Like, look, Maduro, he wasn't the greatest the greatest of leaders. Now forcibly removing someone from power, well, this was essentially a kidnapping. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that there were I'm more of a believer of using a carrot than a stick. But look. The guy was the fact is that had the guy done some dicey things, sure. Are the charges that are posted against him in the U.S. trumped up? Absolutely. Okay, because like seriously. Now, was the guy an authoritarian? Yeah.
Yep.
Very much. You asked me the why. Well, the why is very different because it's just a whole different ball of yarn. Because if you ask your regular American politician, they'll say, it's the fight for democracy and the freedom of the Venezuelan people. Bull. The reason is simple. All right, Maduro wasn't willing to play ball with Trump, and he needed somebody that he could play ball with. Simple. Okay, that's the
simplest answer.
That's the simplest answer. Okay, like since and Trump is has an authoritarian nature too. Okay, and so yeah, that's essentially it. Now, what happens? Well, Maduro was forcibly removed from office, and there's a new mobster in town. Because before it used to be, the Russians and the Cubans, and now, well, it's the Americans. What has changed in Venezuela? Not much.
So it's actually no benefits for the people who live there. It's just
for average Joe. Average Joe has to get up and struggle to put food on the table every day the same way.
The same way.
Okay. The rest is all happening. It's all about power and staying in power. So yeah. Right now, the person that is in power, Delcy Rodriguez, well, she was more, pliable, more willing to do business with the U.S. And while she is playing ball, Venezuela has a lot of oil, a lot of minerals, a lot of stuff that can be exploited, and that's good business for the U.S. So as long as she plays ball, she's going to stay in power.
Well, my question for that would be, because you said the new president, right? He's willing to play ball, and Venezuela has a lot of resources to be exploited. But with those, with those resources, or the money that's been used to buy those resources, eventually benefit the people who live there, or no?
Look, Venezuela has a long storied history of corruption. Okay, it is a very wealthy country, but with a very poor population.
Right, that's something I don't understand. Right?
It's a story as old as time, and this wealth, it's not like going to trickle down to the common folk. There are structural problems with the country, and mind you, I can't speak to the details of what's happening on the ground right now because I haven't been there in a while. It would be fair of me to say, oh, it's this way or it's that way. Okay, I get the hearsay from people there that tell me, oh, I feel things are better or I feel things are worse. Okay, like Maduro, well, he wasn't a nice guy. Okay, and as long as he was in power, there weren't going to be any elections, and people are sold the bill of goods. Oh, now he's removed. The fight for freedom and democracy. No, it's going to be the same thing. Like I said, look, this is like Venezuela is a dog on a leash. Right now, the only thing that has changed is who's holding the leash.
Oh,
okay. Like, look, before it was the Russians, the Cubans, Wagner Group basically managing all of the gold exploitation in the Amazon and all of the abuses that come with that. And right now, well, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that it's going to be American mining companies now that are going to be on the take. There's a lot of money there, and look, the people, politicians want to remain in power. Okay,
they do. Yeah.
And so, the core purpose of someone in power is to remain in power, no matter what, and they will do whatever it takes. So right now they're going to stay in power at whatever cost. I'd like to think that there would be the whole idealism behind them, like things will be better and Venezuela will go back to some previous period of prosperity. Maybe it'll happen. I certainly hope so. But the country will have to morph on its own. And the leaders will have to evolve, but it takes a long time. Okay, and Venezuela has a storied, a long history of choosing really bad leaders.
But some question I have in that is, how the Chinese, the Taiwanese, and the Canadians, like us.
Wow, those are really different points.
But basically overall, every time we always say we wish we can choose better leaders next time. But whenever the election comes, we always think about our immediate benefits, immediate pie that we can chew instead of the long term. Right? I'm talking about from the Asian perspective. And even from Canadian, how they hated Trudeau, and they still vote Liberal. Right?
Well,
so I don't
look. Remember, there's sometimes, at least in my perception, there's a misconception as to, people's motivation for voting. People don't vote to say thank you. People vote to say F you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, Trudeau wasn't voted in. Harper was voted out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
People were tired of Harper and his, his ever-growing, little circle of pseudo corruption
Yep.
that seemed to be seeping.
Yep.
So Trudeau gets voted in.
Yep.
He started on the right track, but went off the rails real quick.
Yep.
Okay. And unfortunately, the opposition wasn't doing a great job selling itself.
No.
Because if the Conservatives presented a good platform and a good plan, they could have sold the idea, but they had a ton of infighting problems with their leadership. And that basically just made just made it easier for a liberal government to remain in power, because they were the least worst choice.
Yeah.
Which is it doesn't bode well for the rest of us. All right, and let's be realistic. Look, right now, Carney is our prime minister, and Carney, even though he is liberal, Carney is a Harper conservative. Okay, mind you, I do believe that without saying that I'm liberal or conservative, I do find Carney to be a more
moderate, right?
I find him to be a centrist, more of a center-right kind of guy.
Yeah.
He is extremely competent. You can't run two central banks, okay, during two financial crises, Brexit in England or in Great Britain, and the 2008 crash in the Americas. That is a kind of job that there is no amount of money in the world for me to take. That is quite the challenge, and he came out pretty much unscathed from that.
Yeah.
Just not self-immolating in that fire is difficult enough, and he did an apparently competent job. Okay, sure, there'll be naysayers that'll, but this or that. Look, there are things, there are views that Carney has that I don't agree with. Okay, there are views that I do agree with. Same with Polyev. There are things that I vehemently disagree with him, and others where I say, that makes a lot of sense. Now, when you look at this and you look at the voter, voters, they go to the polls on emotion.
Yeah.
Okay. The average voter is not thinking long term. They're either voting to punish, and or they are voting because they believe that XYZ candidate is going to give them something better.
Yeah.
But when we look at countries, and I'll go to Venezuela in particular, it's a lot easier to buy votes in a country like Venezuela. And when I say buy votes, politicians have got this down to a science. They know how to play the game because people have so many needs. They are willing to believe whatever you give them. And, and as long as they keep them, dumb, uneducated, and hungry, they are relatively easy to sway. Yeah. So this is kind of the story of Stalin's chicken. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't. Can you?
I hope I don't. Well, I apologize if I'm going to totally mess this up, but at least you'll get the gist of the story.
Yep.
That Stalin was giving some orders with regards to the population, and one of his advisors told him that that he might have a revolt on his hands and that it was unadvisable, etc. And he said, all right, tell you what, let's do this. There's a chicken out back. I want you to grab that chicken and I want you to starve it for a week.
Oh.
Okay. He says, and then bring me the chicken. So a week passes and the advisor brings the chicken. He says, give me the chicken. And Stalin started plucking the chicken alive. Okay. And the chicken was obviously in distress and in pain.
Yeah.
And he let the chicken go, and the chicken ran away with half feathers, messed up. He stuck his hand in his pocket, pulled some grain out, and he went like this, and offered grain to the chicken. And the chicken came and ate from his hand. And he said, let that be a lesson.
Wow.
Okay? So when you think about it that way, when people are hungry, they will put up with a lot of pain.
Wow, that's crazy, man. It's basically manipulating the population to a point where they're so desperate that they need you.
Tell me when in history that has not happened to a greater or lesser degree in any country, whatever political system, more extreme or less extreme.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we can talk about the positives and negatives of China or of Taiwan or of Canada or of Japan, South Africa, Nigeria. And you see, with varying degrees of intensity, you tend to see the same theme playing over and over again.
Yeah, it's always like, I think there was a pattern called create a problem, then you become the solution for the problem, right? So it's kind of always a cycle. You create something to make sure the people suffers, then give them a little bit solution to make them easier.
It's extremely cynical, but it tends to work. And the more, an angry population, they're not thinking, all right?
No, they're not.
If they're angry and hungry, they think less.
Yep.
If they're angry, hungry, and in pain, even easier.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So hungry, angry, uneducated, and scared. Wow, that's the feeding ground for any dictatorship or authoritarian regime.
Yeah, that makes sense. No wonder a lot of countries, the politicians wants to keep the people uneducated and in pain and angry.
You don't want critical thinkers.
You want them to be easily to be mobilized one way or another. So they create a herd mentality for them, right? So if one thinks that there is security here, everybody will flock there. And
I want people that want to be told what to think, not how to think.
Yeah.
Because people who are taught how to think are problematic.
Yeah.
Because they are harder to manipulate.
Yeah.
So, and you find that, if I'm going to tell you what to think, well, then it favors my cause, and I know it's extremely cynical. It favors my cause if I keep you uneducated. All right, I lean in the other direction if we are, seeking, and let's, a higher level for humanity. Education should be paramount for everybody.
Yep.
Okay, health, education, food security, housing. Yeah. All right, and people always say, "You're a socialist." No, I'm talking about the bare essentials.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not saying give it away, but give the opportunities.
Yep.
Okay, because it'll make it harder for the politicians, but overall the world will be a better place. But politicians are not going to let that happen. It goes against their base, their core mandate to remain in power.
Because if the people are independent thinkers, they will question, right, and they will sometimes find a better solution, and they will say maybe this is right.
They'll hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Okay, they will hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And it's like the people who's BSing, a person who's BSing you all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I've wisened up to you.
Yep.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are people who love being fooled. Then you have other people, which I call the single issue voter.
What are those?
The single issue voter is that there's a specific part of XYZ legislation that they are in favor of and that the other party is against. But it's the only issue that they agree with. And they will lean towards voting to whatever party that is because of that single issue. Even if all of the other issues go against their needs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, like, let's just say, Group A. Let's call them anti-immigrants. Okay, just for to throw anti-immigrants. No, I don't want them bloody immigrants, etc., etc. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right. So there's one party that says, no, we're gonna shut down the borders. Yeah, those are my people. All right, but these are the same people that say, but I'm also going to cut your health care, your education, your welfare. Okay, any benefits that you have for disability. I'm going to shut down schools. I'm going to shut down hospitals. But I'm not going to let any more immigrants in.
But the single issue voters will just say rock on and
rock on. Yeah, just just close them borders down.
Yeah.
And like, dude, all right. Look, I get it. Okay, for you, immigration is a huge issue.
Yeah.
All right. But you look to the other side. The other side says, look, we're gonna make welfare better, or make hospitals better, or improve healthcare, or improve infrastructure, etc., etc., etc. And we're willing to listen to your concerns about immigration. Let's find a balanced way to do it. No, this guy says he's going to close the borders, okay, which they're not, okay,
No,
because like usually when you have the radical promises, the absolutes don't happen, because in that world, in the world of legislation, I'm not talking a dictatorship, there has to be compromises.
Yep.
Oh, you always have compromise.
Yep.
When it's a dictatorship, it's different because it's a dictate.
Yep.
And the edict says you do this, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
But if we're talking about a semi-functional democracy, there has to be compromises because you have to legislate.
Yep.
Okay, when there's this huge disagreements within the law, then you have to litigate, and you have to fight that out. And so absolutes usually don't work. You can promise them, they're great for campaigning.
Yeah.
Just make it likely that they're going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. I found the so-called democracy, you do need to persuade and compromise. It's like I think every politician in a democracy is more like a diplomat for his ideas of trying to persuade, try to gather people to be on the same side, where they need to sacrifice something and gain something. But as dictatorship, like, just listen to me and I do everything, right? So,
well, yeah, like it depends on the kind of dictator. Not that there's any good ones, because like you could have, the malignant monarch and the benign monarch, to use that example. Okay, the good king and the bad king.
Yep.
Okay. So there will be people. There are dictators that were willing to listen to their advisors, and others that would have their advisors burned at the stake. So it all depends. Now, if anything that runs on some sort of committee, government-wise, there will always be some degree of negotiation and flexibility. Okay. There are also interest groups, because don't think that when you have an authoritarian, they are 100% in control, because they also have interest groups that they said, well, yeah, I don't want to do this, but if you want to get XYZ from XYZ country, well, you're going to have to give a little to get a little. So there's always going to be compromise at some level.
Yep.
Okay, either very local or farther out.
Yeah. No, that kind of makes me think about how the United States right now, even though Trump is the president, and he wants to run it like a, well, I wouldn't say dictatorship, but maybe very close to dictatorship. But he does have his inner group or circle, right, where they're actually running, like giving ideas and kind of like puppet master behind the scene. Do you feel? I'm just curious. Do you think like Trump and Maduro are basically the same type of people?
No.
Or no?
No.
What are the differences?
Look, those are two. For starters, system-wise, it's two entirely different things. And mind you, I'm not justifying Trump or Maduro for that matter. Okay, because like Maduro, like many Venezuelan politicians, okay, had his hand in different pots, at least allegedly. Okay, widespread corruption in Venezuela is like no surprise to anybody. And yes, he ran the country like a dictatorship, like no doubt about it. The thing with Maduro is that Maduro had zero checks and balances, none whatsoever. Trump has authoritarian tendencies, but the system, at least for the time being, is still able to push back to a degree. Okay, there are courts that push back. There are things that they don't go through. Like, would Trump like to have more control? Of course, but he's not a politician. This is a guy that he has always been used to running the show. Okay, like his businesses, he ran them. Whether he ran them well or not well, he ran them by edict. I'm the boss. You do what I tell you. All right. A very old style hierarchy of management. You know what?
You do listen.
You
listen.
I don't care what you have to say. You do what you're told because I know better because I have more money than you do. Okay. Like, is that wise? Well, no, but that's the way the guy is.
So, my question would be because you did talk about the structural difference between Venezuela and United States, right?
The difference is checks and balances.
So check and balances. But if let's say if I put Trump today in the same legal system or social system as Venezuela,
he'd be a dictator.
He'll be probably the same, right? That's why I'm more curious.
Because look, absolute power corrupts absolutely. All right. If he has no checks and balances, look at what Trump has been able to do with checks and balances. Okay. Imagine without. And again, this is a man, like he is like good or bad. He's a guy that has run businesses. All right. In the old style of management, you do as you're told, and he's used to you do as you're told. He's not a guy that he doesn't like people to say no. He doesn't like people to challenge him, and you see his reactions. Anybody who challenges him is the enemy. Okay. It's not being contentious or debating. No. If you're not for me, you are against me.
There's no middle ground, right?
There is no middle ground. It's either absolute fealty, it's loyalty to me, or you're against me. And you see it with people that have been pushed out of his circle. Okay? Like one day they are the most special people in the world, and they have a falling out, and suddenly, this guy is the worst thing in the world. And that's a style. And also that doesn't help the fact that he's 80 years old, okay? He comes from an older generation, okay? Which has, in itself, that generation has an entirely different mentality. He's trust fund baby, okay? The man has always been wealthy. He's never had a serious day of work in his life, okay? Has he been busy? Probably, but it's a lot easier to work when you know that you've got a couple of $100 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Okay. And, Trump's formula of how do you become a millionaire? Well, start by inheriting $400 million from your daddy. Okay. Has Trump been a successful businessman? No.
No.
Okay. No. Now, has he done some questionable business dealings? Probably. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a lot of things that they don't look right at face value. Okay, and I'm being kind.
Yep.
Now, when you compare it to Venezuela with Maduro, you wouldn't see the dealings that the blatant dealings that you might see right now, but you'd see them. There were a lot of things that happened in Venezuela that were very in people's faces, and it was especially insulting when you saw some people that became extremely wealthy in a very, very short time, while the other part of the population, the other 99% of the population, is struggling, to be able to feed themselves, once or twice a day.
Wow.
It's very hard when you're hanging on the outside of a bus, all right, to get to work in 32-degree weather, all right, hot, muggy, tropical weather, where you're going to go to work for maybe a couple of $100 a month, all right, and a guy drives by in his Ferrari with a big face, a big face of whoever, of Maduro or one of the guys painted on the side of the Ferrari saying, long live the revolution. There's a guy driving, $300,000 car while I'm working my ass off for $200 a month, and I'm hanging out from the side, of a 50-year-old bus, hanging from the side in the hot, muggy weather.
Yeah.
And you're part of the 99% of the population. Yeah. And mind you, there are other, maybe, over there, I'd say that you have, say, 95% of the population is, in dire straits.
Oh no.
Probably there is, a sort of very small middle class.
Yeah.
That lives comfortably, a couple of percentage points, 3-4% of the population live comfortably, but not, not that they can splurge, but they own a home, they have a car, etc., etc. Yeah. So they're, compared to the rest of the other 90%, and don't quote me on those numbers. I'm just spitballing.
Yep.
They're doing well, and then you have that top 1% who are very well connected, who are making billions of dollars, okay, on very questionable business dealings, contracts and things that we now see happen in the U.S., which are things that were unheard of 20 years ago. And there are things that are of questionable origin in the U.S. And eventually, when there is, there is a will, things will be investigated, and they'll find out if there was really any wrongdoing or not. I believe that if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yeah.
So things don't look right to our neighbor, in our neighbor to the south. And mind you, all countries have corruption.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is that this is just blatant and in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly.
So why is more obvious and why is more hidden, in comparison?
All countries, like I said, all countries have corruption at all levels.
Yeah.
It's when the blatant corruption is where you start saying, wow, dude, at least make an effort.
Yeah. They don't even want to hide it anymore. They just straight up in your face say, I'm corrupted. But I thought, because earlier you said I always thought like Venezuela is like more close to socialist or like social welfare country. No,
No.
no, is it more
Look,
capitalist or?
You want to look for starters.
Yeah.
There's the theory, and then there's the practice. All right.
Okay.
All right. So you have people have issues making the distinction between communism, socialism, okay, and socialist policies. All right. If we're talking about socialist policies, Canada is socialist. Norway is socialist.
Yep.
Spain is socialist. France is socialist. Okay. Well, the Scandinavian countries in general are socialists. All right. There are plenty of first world nations that are socialist.
Yep.
Why? Because they lean towards the welfare state.
Yep.
They have well implemented social programs to varying degrees of success.
Yep.
They're not perfect. All right. Then you have those that say that they are socialist countries.
Yep.
All right. Now these socialist countries, that is just a veneer for being authoritarian. Okay. Because look, if you look at Germany, when Hitler rises to power, when he rises to power in 1933, I believe. Like,
And
let's not forget that the Nazis were the National Socialist Party.
Yep.
National Socialist Party.
Yep.
Okay. What was socialist about the Hitler's party? Nothing.
So that is my curiosity,
Because
right? Because
what's in a name? Look, Venezuela, socialist. Well, by name,
Yeah.
okay, because it sells well. It sells well.
Okay.
It sells well to everybody. We are going to take care of you.
Oh, that answered my question, because a lot of times I think about, because like for me, right, I take people on the value on what they said, and I believe that. So when people say I'm a socialist, I think about, okay, so you're a socialist in practice as well, but that makes so much sense. Like when you use like Hitler and Nazi, right? It's national socialist in name, but it's not.
You have to look at the name and in practice.
Yeah.
All right. Because, for example, in Venezuela, okay, socialism. It's sold as, what? We're no longer, going to let the rich, take your fair share. All right. We're going to make things fairer. Okay. We're going to give you more access to the things that you've been needing and you've been wanting.
Yeah.
All right. And communism is basically the elimination where the state owns the state owns everything, and there is no private property. Okay. Okay. Everybody, on paper, everybody earns the same, and the state takes care of all of your needs.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as private property. Okay. It's basically the theoretical beehive.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a terrible example because Beehive has a queen. But in any case, it's we are all equal. Okay, bull. Okay.
It doesn't work in real politics. No.
Yeah, because we may all be equal, but we are not all the same.
Exactly.
And there is a distinction there. So these countries that say, oh, we are, we're a socialist nation, especially when they put it in the name. Okay, it's just, in my opinion, it's just branding.
No.
Okay?
Oh, that's actually very good.
To me,
that's actually very good.
To me, that's just branding.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
Okay, because countries that have really pro development policies, socialist policies. All right, they're not putting it in the name. You don't see Canada called the Socialist Republic of Canada.
No,
it's not. All right, look, if you compare Canada to the U.S., our far right is still left. It's still left of the United States left.
Pretty left. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
you have to put things in context of what are the parameters here.
Yeah.
Okay. And you say, okay, China, okay, it's, China has a structure. Chinese Communist Party is the one that leads the country, okay, but do you know any, I look at China and this is my opinion, but I see a very successful capitalist model.
It is. Like my dad, who used to work in China, he said China is actually more capitalist than United States in practice, even though the man is communist. Yeah.
Well, look, China made a policy decision, and again, my history is not good, all right, with that part of the world. But at a certain point in China's history, they decided, all right, we can make everybody equally poor or equally rich.
Yeah.
All right? And mind you, yes, there are problems with human rights. Yes, there are problems with civil liberties. Yes, there's a lot of things. But but there's a very pragmatic approach. All right. And again, I'm not justifying the abuses or things that might be going wrong in China, but they say, well, we can either make everybody miserably poor, or or make everybody as wealthy as they can be within their capabilities.
Yeah.
And you have basically China has become not only, because they used to consider China, oh well, they produce all the junk of the world. No, sorry, China is the world's manufacturing hub.
Yep.
Okay, without China, we'd be back to weaving our own sweaters.
Yeah.
Okay, because hey, wanted globalization. Well, there you go. Okay,
yeah.
and right now they have an industrial base. It is unparalleled with any other place in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Cities that are dedicated to certain types of manufacturing.
Oh, yeah.
Logistics and supply chain organization that, again, unparalleled.
Yep.
All right, and whether people like it or not, the world depends on China.
Well, it is true, right? I
Okay,
mean,
like
whether
it
you
or not,
right?
like it or not, flip anything in this house around and tell me that it doesn't say made in China. Anything.
So
Find one thing here that you can flip around and doesn't say made in China.
I mean, if you look at a lot of the materials that we have here in Canada, a lot of them they are imported or manufactured from China. But what happens is some of them will say assembled in Canada. It they take a couple parts here, and they assemble here, and now it's the Canadian.
Well, look, China had the Chinese in general, and again, no justification for the wrongdoings, but I have a certain admiration at the level of pragmatism, because they said, all right, we're going to get the raw materials from X, Y, and Z countries. Yeah. We're going to take those raw materials, we're going to process them, and we're going to provide aggregated value with a product, either partial or finalized, and we're going to send it back, at a premium and make money off it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that perfect? Well, no, but you say well, they've got their financial game. The other thing, you see, China's playing the long game. They're not dumb. Okay?
No, they're not. No.
Like every step that they take is planned. It's premeditated. Yeah. It's it's logical. It's practical.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it ethical? Probably not.
No.
Okay. But I'm just going to being purely purely pragmatic.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, like it or not, that's where you have it. And back in the in the 80s, early 90s, Japan was the up and coming guy.
Yeah.
All right. And because Japan again, post World War II, they used to be the junk manufacturers. Yeah. Okay. Something said made in Japan, people would go ugh. Yeah. And then basically everything made in Japan became very premium.
Yeah.
All right. And mind you, they still make amazing things in Japan, but they're no longer the powerhouse that they were.
No, they are no longer the center of the manufacturing hub.
Not at all. Not even remotely. South Korea is, they've done amazing things too. Okay, like respect to South Korea as to how they've progressed socially, fiscally, economically, technologically. Wow, impressive too. All right, and you're going to see different countries in Asia. They're going to be rising stars within the next couple of decades. All right, there are smaller countries that people are not looking at yet, but they will become major players.
Do you think? Well, I'm curious about. Do you think? Because when nations rises, right, there will be other nations that like going down, falling apart. So when you are seeing some of the Asian countries rising, right, do you see any other nations that used to be like dominating world power? How like ancient Rome, right, was once the dominating power around the world. Now it's just Italy and several different countries always like form glories. But what about now? Do you see anything like that?
Look, the biggest example of a failing empire is the United States. Okay, it is like these are if you remember the history of the Roman Empire. Like the U.S. Pains me to say, but it looks like an empire in its last throes. Even down to having the Colosseum and gladiators fighting for in front of the emperor for his entertainment. Like we saw with the whole UFC fight on Sunday, which was mind-boggling. It was like a scene out of Idiocracy, and if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, I recommend it.
Okay, well, so what happened? I didn't get a chance to see.
I just look it up. Look up Idiocracy. It's a fun mediocre movie with an incredible social message behind it.
Oh.
Because you watch that movie, and when it came out, you said, this movie is so ridiculous. Watch it now, 20 years later, and you watch it and you say,
oh, no.
Yeah, it's not as ridiculous as I thought. Okay, so yeah, look it up.
Whenever a movie that was supposed to be ridiculous turned out to be prophetic, that's problematic.
Well, it's a comedy, okay? And I'm trying to remember the names of the actors, famous people. Maya Rudolph and, oh my God, Wilson, one of the Wilson brothers, the black-haired guy. Oh my God, I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember his name. Anyway, it's a fun movie. I recommend it because of the social commentary, and because it is a fun watch. Okay, but back to your question as to failing or falling empires. Look, right now, China is rising and the U.S. is falling. Okay, Russia wants to be a player, but let's face it, Russia has an economy the size of the economy of Portugal.
Really? That's it?
Russia, the only thing that Russia has is oil.
Yeah.
Okay. And they decided to go into a war of choice because their emperor decided that they wanted to annex one of their old provinces. Okay, Ukraine. And Ukraine, well, props to them that said, no, that's not happening. Okay. And if you've ever met any Ukrainian in your life, like, you should know better. You don't F around with Ukrainians, okay? Like, these are like these people. The Russians are hard as nails as a people. The Ukrainians are like the Russians but more stubborn.
Oh, really? Wow.
Okay.
I thought the Russians are like very, very.
And mind you, and mind you, I'm not taking shots at the Russian people,
No.
but Russian leadership. Like, I'm like, why? Why did you get into this? Well, same thing I say with the Americans, like with Iran. Like, why did you get into this mess? It was totally unnecessary. But okay, well, fine. You know what? To each their own. We're going to be paying the price for that quagmire for the next decade.
Did you notice there's a pattern? Like, it seems like the big nations, Russia and United States, now all got dragged into a so-called perpetual war with.
What surprises you about that?
Well, I mean, because usually, like, what surprised me is this. You know how one country got dragged into it, right? And most of the times, the other nation like, oh, we don't want to get involved unless it's necessary, right? But now we have seen the Russians and the Ukraine being in war for 4 years now.
4 years,
right? And it's not going to end. And now we see Iran and United States are getting to that, right? And feels like the Americans want to get in, strike, make a deal out, but the nation Israel like, oh no, you're not coming out. We want. It's always feel like there's someone else has interest and want the war to continue.
Look, there's always going to be an interest by some groups to keep wars going, because for some people they are good for business. And again, just take ethics and morality out of the equation. War profiteering is a thing. Now, when you each one of these wars has different reasons, whether it's a distraction, whether it's an actual, a legitimate war, whether it's a personal passion project, okay, or an ego trip. Throughout history, you start looking at what's behind the wars, and some reasons are legitimate, others are utterly ridiculous. But in the end, a lot of people die, and unnecessarily, and a lot of people profit that shouldn't, and mostly they get away with it.
Yeah, because if you get profit out of the war, right, that means you're not on the front line. You are the one that's actually sending supplies, sending tanks, airplanes, and or manufacturing those, right? So it's like you make money by expensing or by disposing other people's lives.
There's many ways. There's many ways, and many people that profit from war. Some of them make a profit because there's a profit to be made, because things need to be sent, sold, transported, removed, or whatever. And there are others that just take advantage of the situation. Okay, and with an absolute and blatant disregard for human life. Okay, that's that's the way it is.
Do you think there are, let's say Russia is one spot that's been ignited, right? And United States and Iran is the second one. Do you think there might be a third or fourth spot that might be ignited?
Like how many do you want? Because right now we have, because the thing is, you talk about wars, which ones are being publicized, all right, that are mainstream, all right? Iran, US. Why? Because the Iranians did what everybody knew that they would do. They shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Who would have guessed? Then Russia, Ukraine. Yeah, that's one thing that Russia bit off more than they could chew. All right, but let's look at other wars. So we have Israel that basically leveled Gaza, and now they are pushing into Lebanon. Okay, we look at Sudan and the war there. What other what other conflicts do we have? Well, we have skirmishes all over Africa all the time because you have radicalized groups all over the place. That's another ball of yarn, another headache for the world. Right now, look, the other players like India and China have skirmishes across the border every once in a while. Russia and China, they are partners of convenience because let's be realistic. Anybody who knows their history knows that the Chinese hate the Russians.
And they hate each other.
It's a relationship of convenience because Russia, or Soviet Union, as you may, took advantage of China at its weakest. Which is pretty much what Russia, did with many territories.
That's one thing.
So and one thing I'll say about the Chinese, they don't forget.
No,
they'll do business. They'll do business with you, but trust me.
Oh, they hold old grudges for hundreds of years.
That is in their back.
We hold grudges.
That is in their back pocket, and rightfully so. Okay. So China's not going to start a fight. As a matter of fact, people say, "Oh, because China and Taiwan, etc., etc." For China, it's more convenient to keep the status quo with Taiwan than to actually go after it, because Taiwan is an amazing bargaining chip as a threat. It's called leverage. Just the threat is, there's Taiwan. Hey, listen, remember, there's Taiwan. And China. Look, if China wanted to move into Taiwan, they would have already done it.
Oh, they would already level it, like by sending soldiers if they really wanted.
Invading Taiwan is a lot more complicated than people think because of the terrain. So, like going in by sea, etc., etc. And what would they achieve? Because taking territory in Taiwan is going to be very difficult because it's like the land itself. It's a difficult terrain, even though I've never been there. From what I've seen and read, very difficult terrain to approach by sea. What are you going to do? Bomb the crap out of it? What's the point? You want the infrastructure, okay? And then you think the Taiwanese haven't set up every major important plant to blow as soon as the Chinese cross the street. So it would be a quagmire, and the Chinese are way too smart for this. Okay, way too smart to touch Taiwan. Having it there, and creating a little, creating tension in the South China Sea. That's all they need. All right. Headache. You want a headache? North Korea. Okay.
Oh.
Why? Because they are they're the wild card. Okay. I don't think that Kim Jong-un is dumb. On the contrary, I think that he's a ruthless dictator. But he's not dumb.
No, he's not.
Okay. Like everything that he's done and that he plans is with a purpose. And again, he follows the mantra of the person in power. The objective of the person in power is to remain in power, and he will remain in power until there is a time for someone to succeed him, whether it's his sister or one of his descendants. All right, and that will continue on while the North Korean people will, basically, survive. Survive, have the bare minimum survival. Okay. I don't think that Kim Jong-un is dumb, but my only concern with the guy is that he believes his own press, and he starts thinking that he's greater than he actually is and does something dumb.
Oh,
Okay? Like he does.
That's the tendency of dictator, right?
Well, if they start believing their own press, if they start believing that they're, the greatest things in sliced bread,
what is the greatest thing?
That's an old,
I know.
That's an American.
I know, but
it's an English
I still find that hilarious.
I don't think I really don't think he's that stupid. And with the Middle East, look, Middle East has been at war for thousands of years.
Yeah, centuries.
It will continue to be at war for different reasons and situations.
Yeah.
It's an area of conflict.
Yeah.
Okay. It's sad. It's it's been hard on their people, all of them, whether Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Shiite, Sunni.
Yeah.
Everybody has had their their degree of difficulties, and it's not going to get any better.
And we feel like those anger and frustration and conflict has been lasted for centuries, and still going on. Right?
There's been different things happening throughout history.
Yeah.
And sometimes one person's on top of another one, and then another, and then there's the shadows of colonialism, and the mess that the Brits left behind when they occupied that area, and that's we could dig a really deep hole into that. But that's
I remember the last time when you. Do you want to take a break or?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Remember, you're going to need to cut this because nobody's going to watch this thing that long.
Some people are going to watch that long, right? Like
How bored do you have to be to watch us?
Well, I mean, sometimes people just put on a podcast and listen, right? And hear. That's why you can see podcasts or you hear podcasts like 12 hours, 13 hours, and still got tens of thousands of views, right?
I'm sorry, but anything over an hour is like it's a no-go.
Well, some people need to do some people's attention span. Once I noticed about some people's attention span is like short, some are like long, some of them are like long to a point you're like, how did you ever, right? So what happened is they actually put that into as a background radio, as background music. It replaced how in certain places where they used to play rock and roll music or heavy metal, or when they drive, right? And so nowadays, like podcasts became something else as a replacement for those things. Yeah.
Look, you're still going to need to edit this because we've talked, we've been all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, listen, for me, my experience is that even in school, your longest attention span, like true attention span, is about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
After 45 minutes, you need a break.
Yeah.
All right, and then you can hop back in either the same subject or a different subject, but you can do it in blocks of 45 minutes. Yeah. For me, I'll listen to short form. Let's call them podcasts. 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah. To me, 45 minutes to an hour is already long form. Yeah. Anything over an hour, if you cannot put your message, get your message across in 60 minutes, you're not worth listening to.
Oh, really?
Because you're not concise. Yeah. You're just rambling on like an old man. Yeah. And if I wanted to listen to an old man rambling, I could go to any senior's home and ask them, so tell me about your day.
But that's one person facing the camera and talk, right? So usually those messages should be short and concise.
Sometimes.
But what about when people just chatting, talking?
An hour.
And
an hour should be enough. Like if you plan it out. Yeah. If you plan it out and you have topics. Yeah. All right. If you have topics, you're going to go on topic A. Yeah. All right, topic A, you're going to go through the topic, then you're going to say, all right, that'll break down into, subtopics that support the original idea, okay? So you have the introduction, first supporting idea, second supporting idea, third supporting idea, and then you'll reach a conclusion on that and move on to the next subject or a connected subject, and connect that to the next topic and break that down. And maybe at the end, you might want to bring that all together.
Kind of like writing an essay, right? Where you have A, B, C.
What I just described was exactly the structure of an essay. All right, but in this case, you're leading the conversation.
Yeah.
If someone cannot get their ideas across in an hour, I don't want to listen to them.
Okay.
Because, I watch interviews. Okay, I have I enjoy, for example, these guys dropping names with Jonathan Frakes and oh my God, I just forgot the guy's name. The guy who played Data on Star Trek. Oh sweet Lord!
Yeah.
Oh sweet Lord! How can I forget his name? He's so talented. Anyway, those two guys, they're up in years. They're getting older, and they decided to start a podcast. Just two guys on they're two guys sitting in chairs, and the third guy, whoever they're interviewing, is sitting on a couch, having a drink, and asking about the person's career. They'll have different people from in their case, the entertainment industry, and ask them about their projects. They'll have somebody else that was, I don't know, on Star Trek, on Star Wars, or the other day they had Seth MacFarlane, who's had an amazing career. They've had, they have all these people. They do all those they do those interviews very interesting. Then one-on-one, you have, even though sometimes I like it, sometimes not. This girl, Katie Sackhoff. Katie Sackhoff is this girl. If you ever watch Battlestar Galactica, she's the one that played Starbuck. Also quite talented. She does more of a one-on-one kind of interview, where they'll do it online. Okay.
One person using Zoom or
like a Zoom call, and she'll interview a whole bunch of interesting people. Then you'll have Diary of a CEO. All right. That one has got to have the best format for me, because Stephen, I don't remember his last name. Anyway, Stephen is very talented. He's a very keen, businessman. You can tell that, he's good at business. All right. Talented guy. I'm not a fan of all of his guests. Like I mentioned on a previous conversation, he has a lot of guests that, in my opinion, are just
con artists
and cooks, total nut jobs. But he'll have some guests on that are, like you said, wow, this guy has a really interesting resume behind them. And he'll have others that, honestly, they have the resume of a snake oil salesperson. So, but the format is good. I particularly like that format. He does it across the table, but with different camera setting, because he's got one camera on one subject, one camera on himself, and one camera in the center. And then in the editing, when person A talks, the camera goes to person A, person B talks, camera, and then when there's the conversation, it gives the global view. That's a very interesting. Of course, that's a more expensive setup. All right, and it takes more time, requires editing and timing and etc. So, yeah, you're gonna have to up your A game. Look, if you want,
it's probably gonna take a while, right? For me, I love to.
If you want to get out there, you're gonna have to start experimenting. I decided. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I'm sorry. I decided. I've been mulling the idea. All right, let me go back.
Okay.
All right. In my younger years, as a kid, all right, I developed an interest in photography. Why? Because my dad had photography as a hobby, and he had a collection of cameras, amazing cameras. Unfortunately, those were lost. But he had a collection of. I wish I could have saved some of those cameras, because they were amazing pieces of machinery. And in my teen years, my dad was, he got to a point that he'd only carry with himself one of these Ricoh point and shoot. This is the back in the film time with a 35 millimeter film where you get your 24, 36, or 12 exposures. And in the end, he'd only carry the little point and shoot, which was great, mind you. That camera was, for the everyday carry, it was perfect. It was a pocket camera. And he had a professional setup with lenses, 35 millimeter reflex camera, etc. And I remember we went on, I was already a teenager. It was my first kind of sort of pre-grown up trip that we did, an extended trip to Europe. We were in Europe for 2 months. And I told my dad, why don't we take this camera? And my dad just growled at me and said, if you're willing to carry it, that thing weighs a ton. And I took the camera with just one lens, with a prime lens. And yes, the camera weighed a ton. The camera weighs 3 pounds with the lens.
Wow.
Okay, it's an FT2 Nikkor Mat from 1973, I think. I know that he paid a bucket ton of money for it. So, of course, nowadays you don't do 35 millimeter. Okay, obviously everything is digital.
Yeah.
So I've been, I do a lot of hobby photography from the phone, but a couple of months ago, about a month ago, Chloe went into swimming lessons.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to take pictures of her, but the thing is that you're sitting on the, on the stands, and she's way out there in the pool where she's getting her lesson, and getting a shot is really hard because she's far away.
Yeah.
And I tried doing it with a phone, and it's got 50 megapixel and this and that. Mind you, this is a latest generation phone, and I should get pretty decent pictures. And yes, they are decent pictures, but the sensor is small. So when you zoom, it doesn't matter how good the phone is. When you start zooming and you're, a couple of 100 feet away, the image gets terribly distorted. So I wasn't even able to get good pictures. I'm going to look into getting a camera that has an actual zoom, like a real optical zoom.
Yeah.
So I started looking into it in cameras. Oh my God, they're expensive.
They are. The old ones are expensive.
When I came to Canada, I remember going to Best Buy and I bought, Panasonic Lumix for $200, point and shoot. Great camera. I used it for a decade.
Yeah.
Until it just stopped working.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I took it apart. I know what's broken. Unfortunately, the part doesn't exist anymore. It's a very simple part. I'm going to try to repair it, but hand by hand. Anyway, that's another story. Anyway, great little point and shoot camera, and I took tons, I would say tens of thousands of pictures with that camera. So I wanted maybe a little point and shoot that I could put in my back pocket and carry with me as well as my phone. Yeah. So I started looking, and point and shoot cameras, $900, $1,000.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
For a point and shoot camera, $1,000? I'm sorry, no. And I started looking at cameras with interchangeable lenses, and they were about the same price. I'm like, are you kidding me? I used a reflex camera with interchangeable lenses way back in the day, and it's it's an entirely different experience because a reflex camera, 35 millimeter. Of course, I'm not getting a full frame, but a smaller sensor. It's still 16 megapixels, but in a sensor that's this big, which is a lot more light, so it's more sensitive because it's not the same 16 megapixels in a little hole like this, and 16 megapixels in something the size of a stamp. Yeah. It's a lot more light. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I started doing my research, and you're going to want to cut all of this BS out.
No, it's okay.
I don't know a lot about photography, just the basics, and then digital photography. Well, again, the basics. Yeah. Regular everyday photography, yes, I knew. I could grab a camera with 35 millimeter film, and 9 times out of 10, I'd get a decent picture. Yeah. So I looked at I looked at different cameras and I said, I wonder, I was looking because I have all my dad's lenses and his old camera on a shelf, just for for exhibition purposes, as more as a vintage thing than something that I use.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, those lenses were really expensive at the time. And I actually looked them up online, and each lens is worth several $100s.
Wow.
Still, it turns out that there's a market for those vintage lenses because modern photographers put those lenses on these new cameras. So I said, I wonder if adapters exist. So I started looking up, and it turns out that there are adapters, so you can use a digital camera as a manual camera. The only difference, and instead of film, it's digital.
Yep.
Brings me to my next thing. I checked out the lenses, and it turns out, and that goes to how my dad had the camera stored, and the fact that my sister didn't give a crap. She put everything in a plastic bag and let it rot. When I got the cameras, the lenses were the leather cases were green with mold. Imagine, they used to be black leather, they were green, fuzzy. Yeah. I opened that, I pulled out the lenses, put them to the side, I reclosed the bag, and I threw out the bag with all the cases. Like I said, I don't even want that near me. Okay, especially because how toxic and it was that green fuzzy mold all over. Imagine the whole thing green. Yeah. Fortunately, it hadn't gotten inside, except one lens, because there was one lens on the camera, and it was the premium lens, the prime lens, and that one I checked the inside, and it's got fungus inside the lens.
No.
Yeah. So
are you able to clean it, or no, it's gone?
No, it's not gone.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to clean it myself, because I checked with photography places here, and they say, look, we don't service those lenses. Nikon lenses of any generation, we send it to Nikon to be serviced. But the thing is that sending the lens to Nikon, it's going to cost me $300 for them to have a look at it and fix it, if they can. I'm not going to spend $300 on a lens. If I'm going to spend $300 on the lens, I might as well try and buy a lens.
Yep.
Okay? For $300, I can buy a
really good one.
Maybe not premium, but very decent lens.
Right.
Okay? So I said, all right, great. So I went on Amazon and I bought all the tools I need for the lens for $20.
Nice.
And I haven't attempted it yet, because I need to have a clean area and I have to disassemble the whole thing. I already looked it up. I went online on YouTube, people who do restorations, and I saw different things, and I said, all right, with the tools I bought, I can disassemble about 80% of the lens. All right. There's another 20% of the lens that, if that's the case, I'm not going to do. Because there are some lenses that they're just sitting inside, and if the mold is between those lenses, then it's easy enough to fix, because you disassemble the whole thing, you keep them in order, and you basically clean each one of those lenses and reassemble. But there's one lens which is two pieces. So there is there's a biconvex lens that is set into a concave lens, and it has a resin that is put inside. When you glue it goes in, all right, that resin is transparent and it becomes a single piece. What happens is that sometimes the mold gets into the resin. If it gets into the resin, that's a problem, because then you have to chemically separate those two lenses. If you chemically separate those two lenses, that means that you have to reapply the resin, and you have to get that perfectly right. Okay? Because those things were fine-tuned with high precision machinery, at a Nikon factory in Japan, and you know how the Japanese are about photography. Okay? The Japanese are very precision-minded on anything and everything that they build. Okay, it's it's that engineering mentality that I admire so much, and they're very accurate and very, very precise.
Yep.
So I'm going to try, because I said, look, if I don't fix it, it doesn't matter because the lens was pretty much damaged. I already stopped the growth because I have a UV case.
Oh, okay.
That I bought during COVID. Actually, I have 2 of them to sterilize phone and keys and stuff like that. You put them in, close it, turn it on, and it'll go for 5 minutes, and it'll blast. It'll blast it with UV radiation. So I grabbed the lens, I put it there, and of course I can't close the lid because the lens is too big. So I put it there, put the light so it would shine through, and I put it in the bathroom, turned it on with my eyes closed, locked the door, left it there, and when I heard the beep, okay, it's off, I can go in. Yeah, because you cannot look at UV light straight because it'll mess up your corneal epithelium, and it's very, very unpleasant until it heals, because it will literally
damage your
cause superficial damage to your cornea. Your cornea it'll be superficial damage, but it takes a couple of days to heal, and it's extremely painful.
Yeah,
it's very irritating. So anyway, moving on with the story, I started looking at cameras. I said, all right, let me look at the used camera market. So I looked at the used camera market, and of course, the new cameras. First, I had to decide what brand. So I was leaning towards Panasonic because I'd owned several Panasonics and I loved them. But most professional photographers were going,
Oh, why?
Well, I'm guessing because personal preference.
Okay.
Because honestly, Lumix, they are amazing cameras. But then I started looking at versatility, and I said, all right, well, there's more adapters for, at least that I could find, for the Sony, for the E-mount on the Sony, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to lean towards Sony. All right, I've decided which brand. Let me look at the best cameras. Their latest and greatest, interchangeable lens camera. It's about $3,000. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening.
No.
All right.
It's like, wow.
So let me look at the used market. The used market here in Canada is brutally expensive compared to other parts of the world. But here's the other thing: prices have gone up in the past 2 years because going back into handheld photography versus phone has become fashionable again.
Yep.
And I'm like,
I noticed that trend. Yeah.
And I'm like, great. Okay. Like the day when I decided to take up photography, it's when it's in vogue again.
Yep.
All right. So I go in and I start looking at cameras, and no. Let me go back a generation. Nope. Let me go back a generation. Nope. Let me go back a generation. So essentially, I decided to go online, check with the experts. Okay. Like old Sony cameras that still hold up today, and I looked. Oh my God, I must have looked at at least 20 or 30 videos from professional photographers talking about a specific generation of Sony cameras, and at different price points. He says, look, at this price point, these are amazing. At this price point, these are amazing. And entry level, this group of cameras.
Yep.
So I went for the cheapest entry level camera. So it's a camera. I finally bought a camera on Facebook Marketplace from a camera shop on Vancouver Island. Very nice person to deal with. And I bought a Sony NEX6, which is and it had all kinds of features. I said, well, look, I'm going to learn with this camera. I'm going to use this camera. I'm going to practice with it. All right. And I paid $400 for it. And mind you, someplace like out of Japan, ordering a used, just the body of the camera would have cost me $300. Anyway, US. And I was able to get the camera with the lens, with a low shutter count, camera pretty much brand new, for 380 Canadian. Okay, so I bought that. I'd already had set the money aside for that. Okay, it was my birthday present to me. Ordered that, and well, what I was getting at is that I am now relearning all of the principles of photography, because everything that I knew from analog photography translates to digital.
Yep.
The difference is that now there's a lot of automation in it.
You need to relearn the older manual.
Actually, I know all the older manual. The thing is that it translates. The thing is that now it's more knobs and buttons. There's a lot of automatic features. But what I found is I went on AliExpress and I found the adapter for $15 from this camera to my dad's old lenses.
Nice.
Okay. And last night I was up learning how to use the camera manually with the lens that it has. It has one lens. Okay, it came with a lens. Practicing, like kind of getting the feel for it, so I could get better pictures.
Nice.
Okay. First the technical part. The technical part is not my biggest concern. It's important, but because once I get the technical part down pat, and that's where I'm getting the UN photography and all that, I want to worry more about getting nice pictures, photo composition.
Yeah.
Okay, which I used to do back in the day, where I would say, I'd look at the light and say the light is here. This is it. This is how the subject would look better, etc., etc.
No wonder, when you are helping me to setting up this, right? You've been talking about the lights and indirect lights, and there's like.
Well, so the thing is, if you have light in the light from your back, like this is just basics. Okay, remember, I'm as amateur as they come, but if you have light hitting from the back, when the camera sees you,
you turn dark.
You look dark.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, well, we shut this. Like I would have even closed the curtains.
You also
and I would have used center light. Like you put the pot lights on. I would have turned that one on, or I would have put a light over there to shine on in this direction.
Okay.
Why? Because you get less shade. Now, of course, once you have because the iPhone has a good camera.
Yeah.
Okay. Even this front-facing camera. Yeah. What you can do there is when you edit on the phone, you can increase the brightness. You can modify it. You can do all the editing.
Yeah.
Trust me, man. Break it down into clips. Break it down into clips, like per topic or per group of questions. Put a transition, put the other one, and stitch it together. Get rid of the fluff. Like anything longer.
I actually enjoy this. Like sometimes I really enjoy the fluff we have, right? Like, come on, don't roll up your eyes. It's like one thing I like is like how we make this conversation more not in a. One thing I always struggle with, like trying to interviewing people, is I found like sometimes if you have the topic set, and I don't know, it just feels very mechanical. It's not organic to my understanding.
No, who said like you can lead the person. You can guide the conversation without it being like sticky.
Yeah.
Like you can just say, hey, what do you think about this? Open-ended questions. You keep it natural. You just ask. If you're asking yes or no questions, of course it's mechanical. It's an interview. But if you ask open-ended questions and let the other person just say what they need.
Yeah, but this is like you said. This is I would like to know more about the person. Instead of saying, oh, I want to see X, Y, Z, like you said, but I would like for me, I would usually love to hear your perspective and hear what you see on this, like you understand on certain things, right? And for example, you just shared that camera. I didn't know that you're a dad. I mean, I remember you said you're a dad and you used to do photography before, but I didn't know that he has a collection camera, and to me, that's very treasurable experiences.
But you can start, like this has been a great conversation, but you can start by asking the person, so things about personal life, views, life, the universe, whatever, and then go into whatever specialty topic you want to go into, whether it's photography, nature, hiking, politics. By the way, send me the link once you post this. I want to see how many people hang me for having an opinion on Venezuela. Okay, because it's very contentious. That whole thing about Venezuela.
Really?
As contentious as politics in the U.S. Having an opinion where you don't absolutely smash down, this guy is a bad person or a good person. Like if you look, if you want to, be pragmatic about it. You will be criticized.
Really?
Oh yeah. Look, everybody's got an opinion.
Yep.
Okay.
But I mean,
opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody's got one, and they're useless.
I don't know how to count this.
And I have a lot of opinions.
That's good, right? Because I would like to hear people's opinion. Usually, I found.
Remember, I just told you they were useless. Okay.
But I noticed one thing I noticed about people have opinions tend to have some thinking. I'm not saying all of them, but when people are willing to share their thoughts and opinion on certain things, right? It's instead of just say, "Oh, you're an idiot," or "You're stupid," or extreme left or extreme right. I found thinkers tend to are more moderate, but sometimes some of them are more liberal, moderate. Some of them are more conservative, and each of them has their reasons, right? Like earlier you said, they will not just vote for the party because of a single issue, but they will actually think about different things, right? And they are in agreement with the policies, or they are in disagreement with the policies instead of the party. So I actually found those people more interesting to hear and to listen to, right? Than just people saying, "Oh, you're stupid," or
Look, I'll look, and you can take this soundbite for what it's worth, okay? And I'm just quoting somebody else who says that conservatives fall in line, liberals fall in love. Conservatives will do what they're told. Liberals will argue amongst themselves until they reach some sort of consensus. And sometimes that consensus isn't great. Okay? Conservatives, it's what their leader says, period. Okay? Of course, there are different levels and flavors, shades of gray there, but that's pretty much it. Hardline positions, I'm not a fan of. Anybody that says I'm this or I'm that, if you can define yourself in one word, I usually think, I want to just check here, because it kind of tells me that there isn't a lot of depth. Okay. Because there's a lot of nuance in politics. There's a lot of nuance in personal belief, in faith and religion. There is nuance because it's not just what faith you have, what religious you practice, but how you practice it, where you practice it, and where you practice it. How true to it are you really? All right. Are you going through the moves? Are you for real? Okay. People who are judgmental of other people because I don't talk to this person because this person, they don't have the education, and and if you have to have the brains, because you want to know who a person is. Pay attention to how they treat their elders, their children, and their pets.
Oh, even pets.
You look at a person, you want to see what their character is. See how they treat old people, children, and pets. It tells you a lot about people. And they may be, the most sanctimonious people in the world, and usually those are the ones that have the most horrible skeletons in their closet.
Wow.
And And usually the most outspoken people are the most harmless ones. Like, you know, like that old saying that dog that bark don't bite,
Yeah.
which is not true, but it's an old
Yeah,
saying.
You remind me of when I was working in Taiwan many years ago. A pastor, like that church has about 25,000 people attending now. But the pastor who passed away now, whenever the cleaning lady clean his places, he will always get up from his sofa, from his working like chair, right, sofa, and actually say thank you to the cleaning lady. Yeah, and like and he will always like show strong respect to the lady, like yeah, and yeah, I mean I'm not saying everyone like that, right? But I do see that character differences. Because I do also notice some artists who know, and when the cleaning lady clean out their garbage, they just keep doing their work without even looking at her. But that gentleman, that pastor who passed away, always gets up and say thank you. It's like wow. I mean character.
Practice
you know?
what you preach.
Yeah.
And I like and I've particularly found that to be true.
Yeah.
In many places that. You know, I hear a lot of preaching, but not a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Okay, you know they are preaching, you know, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
But but they will kick the homeless man that is sitting on the church stairs.
That is bad.
Okay, like it's that I'll say like wow, like. Do you really think that all this genuflexing is, makes you a better person?
No, it's actually worse.
It's Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Who you are speaks so loudly that it doesn't let me hear what you say." Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the same case. And mind you, I'm not a religious person, but there's a verse from a song. There's this Latin American singer, and people have a love-hate relationship with the guy Ricardo Arjona, and he has a song. He's a man of faith, at least he appears to be. But he has some of his songs have a degree of religious content. Yeah. And he has one song that struck me as so on the nose, because the title of the song is Jesus is a verb, not a noun.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And the song is about, it's all about what you do, not what you say.
Yeah.
So, and that's what the whole song says. And basically the whole song is calling out hypocrisy.
Yeah. And
I'm like, yeah. Okay, and it's the same thing. Like, look at, like, I don't care what you practice or what your faith is. I want to see how you treat other people.
Yeah, that's
okay.
True. Yeah.
And like, because it doesn't matter what you say. If you're a dick, you're a dick.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You can be a really good preacher or good spokesperson, but if you're an asshole, you're still an asshole. Yeah, you gotta practice while you preach. Yeah,
and this is not going after any particular religion, because there's the same sorts of people, all over the place, and to each their own. Like, to me, is how do you treat your fellow man?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, it's simple. All right, like it's simple, and most religions agree on one thing: treat each other well.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
It's one rule. Yeah. One rule across every religion. Treat each other well. Yeah. How complicated is that? No. Let's break it down into as many complicated rules as we can. All right. Listen. Treat each other well. Yeah. Love each other, respect each other, whatever. Treat each other well. Yeah. Oh no. Okay? No. Because like I'm better than you, so I can do this to you, or you can do this to me. Like, it's like you had one job,
Yeah.
one rule to follow.
Yeah.
That's it. Like whether you want to believe, follow or not, one rule.
Yeah.
Treat everybody, treat other people how you want to be treated. The golden rule that you're told in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Treat others as you'd like to be treated.
I'm curious, like, what caused that, that mental superiority, saying, I'm better than you. What caused that? I mean, just,
Self-righteousness and arrogance.
but besides that, right? So self-righteousness and arrogance leads to the mental superiority of I'm better than you. But what caused those two, self-righteousness and arrogance? What are the root of those two?
I don't know. I don't know. Because, but there are people that they consider themselves that they are better than other people for whatever reason. Whether it is because they have more money, higher education, or a different faith than you, or social status, political status, they're taller than you, they're whiter than you, okay? They're more popular than you. It usually boils down to ego. Okay, but I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I don't know what's behind it. But again, for me, it's as a regular guy, I'm allergic to assholes.
I like that one.
Okay, and I have and I have stupidity intolerance. People start saying stupid things. I usually tend to walk away. I used to, try to reason with stupid people, but there are things that just can't be fixed.
Yep, I agree with you.
Because ignorance is solved with education, but stupidity is persisting on an idea despite the evidence.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and hence the saying, you can't fix stupid.
No, you can. I actually found sometimes best to walk away instead of try to spend all your energy try to explain, because it's going to drag you. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like so tiring.
I'll give you, and this is just on a story. I had a professor, university professor, mechanics professor, and he had two things. Of everything I learned from him, I learned a lot of technical things from the guy, but two things stand out. Of everything I learned from him, I took 2 bits of philosophy with me. I put them in my pocket and carried them with me for the rest of my life. He sees me arguing with somebody about some technical issue, okay? And I'm putting, the facts on the table and explaining, the numbers, etc. And the other person is adamant, in a very obtuse position. And I'm presenting facts and proof to support my argument, etc., etc. And, eventually, there's an impasse and we walk away. And I remember he calls me. He says, listen, why were you arguing with that guy? He says, well, listen, he was saying this, and that's not right. This is actually, look, this is what the math says. This is the correct thing. He says, look, never argue with an idiot. He said, excuse me? He says, never argue with an idiot, because from a bystander's point of view, they won't know who the idiot is. The idiot or the person who's wasting their time arguing with an idiot. That was first lesson. Second lesson is, and on the same note, he followed it up with another with a secondary idea, which was a humongous, very visual illustration. He says, look, if you see somebody eating shit, do not take the plate away. Ask them if they want fries with that.
Oh my god, wow.
Okay.
That one's brutal.
And walk away. All right.
That one is brutal, man.
And I thought, and I said, wow, of all the technical skills I learned from this person, and I learned a lot of technical, ability and skill, because he was also sharp. Like it was practical, very practical in his class. I took away of everything he taught those two things.
Wow.
Like I remember all the other technical stuff, but but what he said was very relevant. Every time I saw somebody that,
Wow.
they take a very, very knuckle-headed position. Excuse me. Oh, I'll call him later. That they took a very knuckle-headed position. I would just remember that. Okay, he says, "Would you like fries with that?"
Wow.
Okay, and there's a third one, but this one was told to me as a joke, but as a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And in Latin America, there are a lot of jokes that are life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of life lessons are taught in the form of jokes.
Yes.
And there's another joke/life lesson,
Mm-hmm.
and this one I heard from somebody that went to university with me, but along the same lines. And here the story is that two women that know each other bump into each other on the street. One of them is very well dressed, designer clothing, high heels, fashion purse, lots of expensive jewelry, perfect makeup, perfect hair. Okay, and the other lady, it's she's pushing her baby stroller,
Mm-hmm.
baby in the stroller, and she's got her hair in a mess, no makeup, wearing some jogging pants and and a fleece, and a hoodie or whatever.
Yes.
So very casual. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And they bump into each other and say, "Hey, I haven't seen you since high school. How are you?" "Oh, I'm doing great," etc., etc. And the lady with the baby asks, the very well kempt girl, "So, how have you been?" And she says, "Great. I married a very wealthy businessman." "Oh, that's wonderful." And he buys me fine perfumes,
Mm-hmm.
jewelry, all the clothes I want. "Oh, that's wonderful. We travel around the world all the time." "Oh, that's really wonderful." And he bought me a nice house in the country club. "Oh, that's wonderful." And he recently bought me a yacht. "Oh, that's wonderful." And how about this woman looks at the woman with the baby and says, "How about you? What have you been up to since high school?" She says, "Well, I'm married a very hardworking guy, good provider. He's an engineer. He's a bright guy. We live an average life. We have a small apartment. Recently had our daughter, and we're doing okay. We're happy, and I'm very grateful to him because he educated me." He says, "Really? How's that?" "Well, back when we were in high school and I met a pompous bitch like you, I'd tell you to fuck off. But now I just say, isn't that wonderful?"
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. Yep.
So you're going to need to do some bleeping.
Yep.
But it's part of the joke.
Yep.
So, the moral of the story is, just walk away.
Yep.
Okay. Just say, "Isn't that wonderful?"
Yeah.
And it became a running joke within my group of friends
Yeah.
that we go somewhere and there was always some person that was, being, pompous about, their brand new sports car
Yeah.
or, the latest and greatest, gold watch that they got and whatever. And we'd all look at each other and almost we would do it in chorus. "Isn't that wonderful?" Okay. And that was it still is our inside joke.
Yeah.
35 years later.
Wow, that's nice.
Okay, it's a running joke.
It's
saying
it's
isn't
good.
that isn't that wonderful?
It's such a really good joke. I mean, and it's practical as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's almost time to conclude this.
Sorry, I wasn't checking my watch because I was.
Oh, okay.
I was just checking my watch because I wanted to know what time it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think I don't want to take. Like, I really enjoyed the conversation. If I can do it again, I'll probably invite you again, right?
Whenever you want. Like,
Yeah.
to me, this is our normal conversations.
Yeah.
But with a camera.
Yeah, it is. Like, this is why I enjoyed it, because like you have so many things you can share, and so many things like I can learn from a different perspective, right? Because my world, I have to be honest, is very limited. Right, I'm from certain culture, from certain understanding, from certain religious background, right? So there's only so much things I can see for my own, right? So when I get to see you and talk to you from different culture, different perspective, and a different understanding, different experiences in life, I found it is very beneficial for me. Yeah. So I enjoyed it.
No, it's mutually beneficial. Yeah. Like every time we get together, I'm always learning stuff from you.
Yeah, I really enjoy
everything. Yeah, me too. Everything is a learning. Look, everything is a learning experience, and you know, it's something that I enjoy, and I hope I hope you can grow this media idea that you have.
I saw you gonna say like belly can grow.
No, I'm talking about this, you know, this whole idea of sharing experiences with other people.
Yeah,
out there that that may be just curious to get the average Joe's take on life. Okay, which doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. Again, it's an opinion.
Yeah.
So not to be taken, like they say, not to be taken at face value. Just for what it is, an average Joe with an opinion.
Yeah.
So I think that there's value to that for people that actually care.
Yeah.
That they just want to see, what's life from from the point of view of the guy on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. And mind you, I might be way wrong.
Well, but
I've been known to be wrong many times.
Okay, I don't know how to continue. All right, thanks, Oscar. Really appreciate it.